The motorbike skidded just inches away from a speeding truck. The tires screamed against the wet road, the engine coughing violently before dying completely. The woman barely managed to steady herself, her breath shaking as she pulled the bike to the side of the empty highway. Rain poured harder, cold, relentless. Her hands trembled, not just from the near accident, but from something deeper. Something heavier. She looked around. No cars stopping, no help, just darkness stretching endlessly in both directions. Have you ever felt completely alone, even when the world was still moving around you? She exhaled slowly, trying to keep herself together, but the frustration was building. Not now, please not now, she whispered under her breath, kicking the side of the bike in helpless anger. Nothing. The engine stayed silent. Then, headlights appeared in the distance. A small, worn-out pickup truck slowed down beside her. For a moment, she hesitated. Trust wasn't something she gave easily. The window rolled down. A man leaned slightly out, simple clothes, tired eyes, grease on his hands like he had been working all day. "You okay?" he asked. She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she studied him. No arrogance, no curiosity, just concern. "My bike won't start," she said finally. He nodded once and stepped out into the rain without another word. No hesitation, no negotiation. He walked straight to the bike, crouching beside it as the rain soaked through his shirt. "Mind if I take a look?" he asked. She blinked, slightly caught off guard. "You're just going to help?" He glanced up briefly, almost confused by the question. "Yeah," he said simply. "Why wouldn't I?" That answer hit differently than anything else that night. He got to work quickly, hands moving with quiet confidence, like this was something he had done 1,000 times before. "You should stand under the truck," he added. "You'll get sick standing in the rain." She didn't move. Instead, she kept watching him. "Don't you want anything?" she asked. He shook his head, tightening something inside the engine. "Nope, not even money." That made him pause for a second. Then he looked at her again, and smiled faintly. "If I only helped people for money," he said quietly, "I wouldn't be able to look my daughter in the eyes." Something inside her shifted, a small, unexpected crack in the walls she had built around herself. "Your daughter?" she asked. "Yeah," he said, returning to the bike. "She's the reason I try to do things right." The rain softened slightly, the silence between them changed. And for the first time that night, she didn't feel completely alone anymore. A few minutes later, the engine came back to life. The sound cut through the quiet like a second chance. Her eyes widened. "You fixed it." He stood up, wiping his hands on his jeans. "Should be good now." She stared at him. "You don't even know me," she said. He shrugged lightly. "Didn't need to." That answer stayed with her long after she rode away. Because what she didn't tell him was that she had met hundreds of people. Rich, powerful, perfect on the outside, but none of them had ever felt real. And as she disappeared into the rain, she didn't realize yet that the man she had just met was the one person she had been searching for all along. The sound of the motorbike faded into the distance, but something about that moment refused to leave her. Rain still tapped softly against her helmet as she rode, yet her mind wasn't on the road anymore. It was on him. The way he didn't ask questions. The way he didn't expect anything. The way he helped, like it was the most normal thing in the world. Have you ever met someone for just a few minutes, and somehow felt like you understood them more than people you've known for years? She slowed the bike slightly, her grip tightening on the handles. People usually tried to impress her, or use her, or at least recognize who she was. But he hadn't done any of that. He hadn't even asked her name. And for the first time in a long time, she felt something real. Back at the small house on the edge of town, the man stepped inside quietly, shaking off the rain from his jacket. The lights were dim, warm, simple. "Dad," a small voice called from the other room. He smiled instantly. "I'm here, kiddo." A little girl ran toward him, her hair slightly messy, her eyes bright despite the late hour. "You're late," she said, crossing her arms in fake anger. "I know," he chuckled softly. "Got held up again?" she asked, but there was no real complaint in her voice, only familiarity. He knelt down in front of her. "Hey," he said gently, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Did you eat?" She nodded. "I saved some for you." His expression softened in a way that only fathers understand. "You didn't have to do that." "I wanted to," she replied simply. He pulled her into a hug. A quiet one, The kind that holds everything words can't explain. Because behind his calm smile, there was a life full of things he never talked about. Loss, struggle, long nights wondering if he was doing enough. But moments like this made everything worth it. The next morning, everything felt normal. Work, routine, silence, until it didn't. A black luxury car stopped outside his small workshop. People noticed immediately. Cars like that didn't come here. Not ever. He stepped out, wiping his hands on a rag, confused. The door opened, and she stepped out, the same woman from the night before. But different. No rain, no fear, no hesitation, just presence, strong, composed, untouchable. He blinked. "You," he said, surprised. She smiled slightly. "Hi." For a moment, neither of them spoke. The contrast between them was almost unreal. His simple world, her powerful one. "I wanted to say thank you," she said. "You already did," he replied. "I don't think I did it properly," she said. He shook his head. "You don't owe me anything." She stepped closer. "Most people would have taken advantage of that moment," she said quietly. "You didn't," he shrugged. "Didn't feel right." She studied him again. The same calm, the same honesty, unchanged. "Do you know who I am?" she asked. He looked at her. Really looked this time. The car, the driver, the way people nearby were staring. He exhaled slowly. "I'm guessing, someone important." She gave a small, almost sad smile. "I own Veritas Group," she said. The name hung in the air. Everyone knew it. Billions, power, influence. He nodded once. Okay, that was it. No shock, no excitement, no change. And somehow, that reaction hit her harder than anything else. "You don't care?" she asked. He thought for a moment. Then answered honestly. "I care about how people treat others," he said. "Everything else, not really." Silence. Deep. Unexpected. Have you ever shown someone your entire world, and realized it meant nothing to them in the way you expected? For the first time in years, she felt seen. Not for her wealth, not for her power, but for something simpler, something real. "I've met a lot of people," she said slowly. "But none of them felt like you." He looked slightly uncomfortable. "I'm just a mechanic, and I'm just a woman," she replied. That made him pause, because the way she said it wasn't pride, it was truth. Days passed, then weeks, and somehow, she kept coming back, sometimes with excuses, sometimes without. A small problem with the bike, a quick visit, a simple conversation, and every time, something grew. Not fast, not forced, just real. She met his daughter. At first, the little girl was shy. But children understand people better than adults do. It didn't take long. Soon, laughter filled the small house in a way it hadn't in years. One evening, as the sun dipped low, painting the sky in soft gold, she sat quietly on the porch beside him. "Why didn't you ever ask me for anything?" she said. He glanced at her. "Like what? Money, help, a better life." He smiled faintly. "I already have what I need." She looked at the house. Simple, small, imperfect. "Really?" she asked. He nodded toward the inside, where his daughter's laughter echoed softly. "Yeah," he said. "That's enough for me." Something inside her broke, not painfully, but in a way that made space for something new. Because she had spent her whole life surrounded by people who wanted more. More money, more power, more from her. And here was someone who wanted nothing. Can you imagine finding peace in a place where nothing looks perfect, but everything feels right? Tears filled her eyes before she could stop them. "I've been searching for something," she whispered. He didn't interrupt. "For years," she continued. "And I thought it was out there somewhere, in the world I built." She looked at him, but it wasn't. Silence. Soft. Honest. "Maybe," he said gently, "you were just looking in the wrong place." She laughed through her tears. "Yeah," she said, "maybe I was." A quiet moment passed between them. Then she reached for his hand. Not as a billionaire, not as someone powerful, just as herself. And he didn't pull away. Because sometimes, the love people search for in a world full of noise, eyes found in the quietest, simplest places. And sometimes, the person who changes your life is the one who never asked for anything at all.